This one thing, taking one of the districts and making a wild card, because you could still be a Texas person, theoretically. Creating this wild card spot in this Texas A tournament makes it a national tournament. Anybody in the nation who could potentially get that wild card could come and win the most prestigious tournament in Texas.
With Bosby being in the forefront within this new initiative, what makes him that pick for the wild card?
He's got the size, he's got the look. I've scouted a lot of talent over my years, and I definitely believe that Tim Bosby will have a future at the next level.
Timur is the Texas strong style, and we got to see Decimus in a different style in Lucha Libre. Why is that balance such a good thing for a match within the Texas Eight?
Those are two most prominent styles that we have here in Texas.
Why Marty within El Paso?
He's got great size. He's a good talent. If you were a rival of Cosmo Orion, who's literally been, on fire these last few years here in Texas wrestling, like that's a pretty big statement. You know what I'm saying?
What makes Justin such a really good pick for West Texas?
He's one of those talents that actually could move to a big city and hang with all the great talent that we have everywhere. Who do you see in the finals of this Texas A tournament?
And we're continuing our Texas 8 coverage here on the Project Get to Know podcast. We have another show regular. We have Kiefer Bartek. Kiefer, you are like leading the appearances right now. So
I was going to ask, is this, I have to be in first place at this point, right?
Yes, you are.
And happily that I am. I remember who was like competing with Danny O'Ryan or something like that, but
it's
now
Danny.
I know.
There was a bit of a rivalry. Now you have the top
I'm
spots.
number one.
So it's you, Danny, and then Biss so far.
Okay.
So
all right.
Well, unless if Danny magically appears on this interview, you have the top spot.
Hey,
and
never say
Texas
never.
8,
Anything can happen at New Texas Pro Wrestling.
Exactly. So the Texas 8 is running on its second year. Biss had the nice opportunity to go north to south with the participants in Austin, with Dallas, with the Rio Grande, and with San Antonio. So you have the floor going to east to west. So I want to bring this up before we even delve into our participants for this year. You brought up a tweet that's really it caught my attention when I was actually preparing for Biss's interview, and you posted this on Twitter. I will say Twitter till the day I die.
That's fine. That's right. That's the correct way to say it.
Exactly. So you quoted and I quote this: "The indies aren't dead. Some of the best talent that we've ever seen is coming through the pipeline right now. I would recommend tuning into your local indies and keep an eye on this group of talent coming up around the country." We've seen that in Texas.
Yeah.
We've seen the likes of the Brian Keith, the Hyann, the Maya World. And the indies are basically like the lifeblood of what's going to happen in the bigger picture in the wrestling business. Why post that?
Man, I'm really trying to stay optimistic with independent wrestling, professional wrestling in general. Too much of my constituents in this business, it's always negative. It's always, this is happening and that's happening, and this isn't the same and this is not the same, and these kids aren't working hard enough, and blah blah blah. It's always negative, 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 and I'm trying to stay more optimistic. I think that there's this thing about the indies being dead. I think that as everything in society, things evolve, things change, and it's our job to try to continue to adapt. To say, like, how can we continue to move this thing forward? How can we continue to get in front of the eyes that get this talent that are coming up in front of more people? Get people energized and excited about the independence. And again, it's just too much. I just see too much negativity online. I see a lot of people just completely trashing this next generation of independent wrestlers. And as someone who's been developing talent for the last few years, on top of promoting shows for the last 8 years, I guess it's almost been 4 years that I've been really developing talent.
Right.
I think a lot of the guys that are coming up are very talented. I think that, again, there's a lot falls on the promotions to say, like, all right, what worked 2 or 3 years ago isn't working today. You know what I'm saying? What worked 5 years ago when social media was probably at its peak isn't working today. Not as many people are on social media as there was 5 years ago. Does that make sense? There's different ways people consume their social media, even if it's not Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. TikTok's a new thing, a new game that a lot of people spend a lot of time on TikTok. My mom spends a lot of time on TikTok actually. The newer generation spends more time on TikTok than they do, on the other apps, Twitter and Facebook or whatnot. So it's just really trying to figure out how to get people energized and excited about this new talent. And of course, on the other hand, the talent still has to work hard. They still have to make the towns. They still have to do all the small things that the generations before them did. That made that generation of independence so special. But again, I don't want to take away from the talent that these kids have. I don't want to take away from the talent that this next crop has. And I think that it's just continuously getting swept under the rug and overlooked because so many independent wrestling promotions are having trouble getting people to come to the shows and being excited about their product because what they've been doing for the last X amount of years isn't working today.
Hmm. What's nice too is I'm sensing this, especially in Texas, where there is, well, tribalism would be a bit of a harsh way of saying it, because each city will have its own audience,
Right.
and a
Right.
lot of these guys are from Austin, and I mentioned it. I mentioned it with Biss on the last interview. You get to see a Mo Kelly, you get to see a Prince Karaoke who would go out of their way 5 hours to get to a combat cult, and look where they're at now. And it's just, a lot of these talents have been really getting their name out there and getting the recognition out there, as well. But at the same time, like, I'm noticing, I wouldn't say, well, there is friendly rivalry would be a better way of saying it, because
Yeah.
every city has its own scene, and
Yeah.
knowing that, okay, like, oh, what's this kid from Houston doing here in Austin? But it's the talent that really wants to get their name out there for the cities that they're visiting. Oh, okay, he's pretty good.
Yeah. I agree. It's one of those things where every Texas is so big that every part of the state could be its own territory, if that makes sense. Dallas is way
Hmm.
different than Houston.
Yes.
Houston's different than Austin. Austin's different from San Antonio. And so one of the ways that this next generation can truly um grow is that you go into, this is one of my mindset when I got into the business, is that you go into each of these different markets and you try to get over in front of all these different crowds because you can't do the same thing. Like say a guy from Austin then goes to Dallas and they try to do the same thing. They're in Austin, but they're known in Austin, but they're not known in Dallas. And that Dallas crowd's a little bit different. The Dallas crowd's a little bit tougher to get over in front of, just from my own experience and knowing those crowds. So you got to be able to adjust, and that really builds you as a competitor, as a performer, that if you're able to go for all the, and there's also Laredo, there's also the Rio Grande Valley, there's up in West Texas, which is completely different, more old school. So you got to figure
Hmm.
out what works in all these different towns. In Dallas, they have wrestling every weekend. In Houston, they have wrestling every weekend. In Austin, they have wrestling every weekend. So you got to really go above and beyond to really shine and a group of people or a group of shows and talent that's already there. Does that make sense? You go up to West
Right.
Texas, they might not get wrestling every weekend. They might get wrestling once a month, maybe once every few months. You can really tell a good story and not have to go above and beyond. Because there's been times that I've seen people do the super indie stuff in a Abilene where I'm from, and the crowd could give two craps about it. So
Mm.
again, that's all part of learning and developing as a talent is that you have to go to these different towns. You have to earn this crowd, and you got to get over in front of this different audience. And then when you go to that next level, they're looking for people that have already done that. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
again, it's just the climate just is it's always changing. We're always changing, we're growing, and you got to figure out how to adapt to what's going on now.
I think what's nice too, and we got to see like a Maya or a high end who's been through like the
Yeah,
gauntlet of, like,
yeah,
not only in Texas, but like they got to see things all over the state, and some went to Japan, and all
yeah,
of these guys that are there, you get to see, like, even though that they are from a Dallas or a Houston, like, they bring the cities that they're training or they're working and taking it somewhere else. You get to see how much of them develop to the point where suddenly Tony Khan's like, here's a handshake, here's a contract, welcome to AEW.
yeah. Yeah, I think especially for Hyon, I know specifically that she really grinded through probably every single facet of independent wrestling that you could possibly fathom and
Yep.
wrestling in different countries around the world. So, you know, it's super cool to see both of them at AEW and doing the tag team thing and shining in their own ways. And yeah, they bring their own flavor. Both of them separately bring their own flavor to the shows and bring that, one from Houston, one from Dallas is a little bit different on both sides. So again, you can kind of see that in their work as well. Like every city is a little bit different than the other one. So again, that's a cool thing about Texas is that most other states don't have all of that, these different territories all crammed into one, and we just call it Texas.
Exactly, just whatever that
Yeah.
whatever they're from, it's still under that Texas blanket. And we are going to bring up deep now we're going to do the participants. And
Okay.
the wild card has been a welcome addition to the
Okay.
Texas 8. And
Well, I'm glad you feel
last
that way.
year,
Some people on Facebook felt that we were robbing somebody from Texas. So I'm glad that
aw,
you feel that
because
it, you can't please everybody. Look, this is
yeah,
another another thing in life, especially as
I'm
a
gonna
promoter.
get raked in the coals for saying that statement.
Texas 8 was a smash success last year. I really enjoyed it. I think all the
Mhm.
talent was amazing. The tournament was amazing. The show was incredible. Probably the show of the year last year. But this one thing, taking one of the districts and making a wild card, because you could still be a Texas person theoretically, but creating this wild card spot in this Texas A tournament makes it a national tournament. It doesn't just make it a local Texas tournament. It makes it a national tournament that anybody in the
Yeah,
entire country can win. So that adds a completely different audience that we haven't had yet on the Texas 8. So that is the thinking process behind the wild card. That now this tournament isn't just a Texas tournament; it is a nationwide tournament that anybody in the nation who could potentially get that wild card could come and win the most prestigious tournament in Texas.
because what I mean, think of it this way. I mean, Kenny Omega is like a prime example of like the G1 climax, a foreigner
Right,
who's from Canada. Out of every country in the world, like Canada became a forefront, and he became like the G1 climax tournament winner.
right,
It really adds to the excitement, but also to the other seven that are there. They're like, what's this guy doing here? Like,
right.
it drives them to be where they were from and elevating it even more. And this is a nice preview with Bosby being in the forefront within this new initiative.
Yeah.
What makes him that pick for the wild card?
Man, we had actually had Tim Bosby on a Texas Contender Series to defend that Action Championship against Just Nick. It was last fall, I believe. And
Mm,
man, did he impress. That was probably, we didn't do match of the years for like New Texas or Contender Series, but if I was to just pick one off the top of my head, I'd probably say Tim Bosby versus Just Nick was that match of the year candidate. And he's got the size, he's got the look. I mean, I'm a big guy and he's about the same size as I am. You know what I'm saying? You don't really come across too many of those guys these days in wrestling. He was the youngest action champion in history. I
mm.
believe he's the heritage champion at Memphis Wrestling. He just defended that championship against Dolph Ziggler, against Nick Nemeth,
Wow.
a couple weeks ago. So I've scouted a ton. I say scout, but I mean like just in the essence of promoting. But I've scouted a lot of talent over my years, and I definitely believe that Tim Bosby will have a future at the next level.
Hmm.
And everything that he's done, I believe he's only 22 or 23, maybe 21. He's very young. Everything that he's done up
Right.
to this point has been super impressive. Um, and what better way to start this wild card off thing than with having this five-star blue chip prospect from Tennessee, Georgia area, who was a former action champion, the youngest action champion in history, to come in and try to win this tournament, which has kind of proven to be not. I mean, we have a ton of great talent. This is top talent in Texas, but it's kind of proven to be almost a who's the next guy that's coming up in the state kind of tournament. You know what I'm saying? So he fits right in with a lot of the other talent that we have in this tournament that you could easily see on television in the next couple of years. And that's why,
Mm.
of all the choices that we could have had from all the places in the new initiative, I thought Tim Bosby was going to, and he's built for a tournament. I mean, this guy's big, strong. He's a former amateur wrestling champion. You know what I'm saying? So he's built for it. He's wrestled in these kind of tournaments before, even through amateur wrestling. So again, I couldn't think of a better guy that would fits what we're doing here. And honestly, I was talking to Dan on the podcast this past week, and he's in the running for favorite. I think if we had betting odds on this tournament, I mean, Tim would be right up there with the other names that you'd say would be the favorites for this tournament right now.
I think his ceiling's very high now. After seeing that match in particular with Nick Nemeth, it's like that ceiling is so high for him
Yeah.
to be in that next level, and to know that he's in this tournament and knowing that he could win it all just because of what he's done uh, from an outsider as a participant in the Texas 8.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have him on. I think that he's going to be very impressive. I know that not everyone's super keen on him because obviously he's not a big independent wrestling name, but I promise you, this is a guy that's you will probably see on television in the next few years somewhere.
Mm.
And again, he fits in with all this other great talent that we have, all the other 7 Texas guys that are in this tournament. So I'm pumped that Tim's involved. Uh, Again, we get to do more stuff with the new initiative and all that talented the promotions that we get to work with from around the country. And this is a great first step in, or not first step quite, but one of the first steps that we've had trying to figure out ways we can get more of these people in.
Right. And to move on to Houston, Timor the Great has been really been a on a tear as the Lone Star champion. And I'll ask it this way.
Yeah.
And Biss and myself discussed with Decimus in the Rio Grande Valley. They're two different styles.
Yeah.
Timor is the Texas Strong style, the hard hitting, the ones that we always see every week in and week out. And we got to see Decimus in a different style in Lucha Libre with professional wrestling that's thrown in the mix. What makes this match such a special highlight of these two different styles? Because Texas is Lucha Libre and Strong style. Like, why is that balance such a good thing for a match within the Texas 8?
Well, you kind of you hit it on the head in the sense of there's more styles in the Texas strong style and the lucha style, but those are two very prominent styles that we have here in Texas. I mean, maybe the two most prominent styles that we have here in Texas. So you kind of, the way that this tournament shakes out, there's going to be people in the first round that are going to face each other that you could say, hey, look, these two people could potentially win this whole thing. But just the way the brackets shake out, that they unfortunately have to face each other in the first round, and this is one of those instances where I remember seeing Decimus, maybe the Texas Indie Showcase 2, which was 4 years ago at this
Okay.
point,
I know that.
um,
I know that.
in a six-man match, which he I'd never seen him before that, and I was like, "Who is that guy?" Because he is awesome. Um, so to see him and see his growth and see him continue to get, work around the entire state now, I know he's a staple at Baracho at this point in time as well.
Mm-hmm.
To see him be able to mix it up with someone like Timor, who he's just been unstoppable. I mean,
Yep.
ever since O'Day went away, he's kind of been unchained, and he's just kind of taken what he's wanted to at this point in time. When he beat Izzy James in the Mosh Pit Mayhem at the anniversary show, Izzy had been undefeated since he returned to New Texas, which had been over a year, I think, at that point, or he had been undefeated up until a certain point, right before that match with Timor. So to be able to beat somebody like Izzy James and to win that Lone Star Championship was a huge milestone in his career, and it's like, sometimes people get championships and they're like, "Oh, I'm the champion, look at me." But like Timor's like, "I'm just going to dominate everyone." And the fact that he's putting his Lone Star Championship on the line through this tournament, which means that, we were doing the math, me and Dan were doing the math. That means potentially there could be 4 Lone Star champions throughout this show. Uh, be-
Oh, right.
because the winner of the tournament is going to be the Lone Star champion. So you could start with Timor. He could lose to Decimus. Decimus could lose to the person in the next round. That person could lose to the person in the finals, and that could be 4 different Lone Star champions in one night. But this shows like what the conquest that Timor is on at this point in time, where he is so confident in himself that he's going to put his Lone Star Championship on the line through this tournament. And it's just, it's amazing to see in one regards. I wouldn't want to be on the other side of Timor, obviously, but it's just incredible to see his growth for this last 4 years or whatever through New Texas Pro Wrestling, and now it's potentially could be his time. Um, to win the Texas 8 tournament and to, secure himself to being one of the top guys here in the state of Texas.
I'm curious. I was thinking about this too, and seeing Timor go from, contender series to progress through all the way to that Lone Star champion. Um, how much of that progress that you've seen And what were some of those like moments and teaching him? What was that like seeing him progress to what he's doing today?
Well, I always like to say when we first got Timor in, he was like a runaway train, right? He would go,
Mm,
go, go, but no real rhyme or reason for what he was doing. He was just going. And the thing about Timor is that he really loves this business, and he loves to, attempting to get better. He's gotten so much better over these last 3 or 4 years, however long it's been that we have been working with him.
hmm
And he still has that locomotive type of drive inside of him. He still goes. He's still kind of that train, but now he knows where he's going. Does that make sense? He knows
Yeah.
exactly what he's doing now. So obviously, you would like the perfect world. You'd like to take someone like Timor that was where he was when he first started, and he's a former multiple time tag team champions. He's had some really incredible matches across the state. He's actually, getting booked around. He's the Dustin Rose tag team champions with O'Day as well. I believe they were tag team champions, or they are tag team champions in California as well. He's
Right.
had a lot of great singles matches with us in New Texas over the last year or so, and he's starting to get it all to where he's like, he's had the run as tag champions. He's had these, singles matches, but now the next step for him in his development is to be a main event guy. And we're kind of,
hmm
in that process now where we're moving him right there to where he needs to be. Does that make sense? And I know that he's going to get there, and I know he's going to be a great main event guy for us at New Texas Pro Wrestling and across the state. And then, hopefully some point in time during that development, he gets picked up and we get to see him on television with the next few years.
Yeah,
So
that's the main goal is for
right.
someone to
I
go
would
all or
obviously
if
love I would love to have him here forever, but I genuinely genuinely want to see everybody who's on our roster make it to the next level.
yeah.
Um as much as I would love to have them all here, I would rather them be living their dreams and getting paid, real money to do what we're doing. So again, it's all part of his development. I know he's right there. I know he's going to be great. And I think that, he's primed for great things within this next year or so.
I saw the match with Jesse, and I knew when I was running photos, just watching, put my camera down and see how he's progressing within the match. And he's a freight train. You were not joking
Yeah.
when you're describing him that way. And to see him like really defend that title, and he knows the pressure is on him to defend.
Yeah.
And to know that, okay, and he was in ROH. I mean, like, hell, it's a legacy promotion that we've
Yeah.
seen, like one of the more OG indies that's been around for a while under that AEW umbrella. So you get to see glimpses of like, hey, maybe he can be be in ROH, or if the stars align, he gets a WWE tryout and get that ID contract down the line. So it's what you guys are doing to lay that foundation for him. So when they do meet the big stage, they know where to go because, like,
Yeah.
hey, I know my worth within the new Texas roster, or in this case, if they're doing tag matches with O'Day at the Rhodes Wrestling Association, they know where to look for. So when those opportunities come, okay, maybe they'll get that WWE ID contract or even be an all elite down the line. It's what you guys are doing that are laying the groundwork for him to succeed within the business because it's hard. But at the
It
end of the
is hard.
day, like they have everything that he can learn from, and yeah, you never know. He could be in the big leagues, and he'll be biting the dust. And it's like, hey, see you later.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I think he fits in either of those rosters as well. I think that we've tried to develop him where he could go to WWE tomorrow he wanted to, but he can go, as we saw with the match with Jesse. I mean, he can go if
hmm
he needs to, and he can work that AEW style if need be, and he just needs an opportunity to show that that's what he's able to do.
So we're hitting up El Paso. Cosmo Orion.
Yes.
We have the Battle of Orion. That was probably one of my favorite matches because it's two Orions. So it's like it's disorienting, but it's like El Paso, much like in the Laredo and the RGV, it's a very heavily lucha libre influenced town.
Yes.
And Marty Snow has been kind of a very interesting pick to have so far. And Cosmo does his thing being the space boy and knowing that Marty is kind of like a shade low, let's say shade low in,
Yeah.
in terms of like what the city is in terms of Lucha Libre, and he has been in AEW when they were in El Paso, and you got to see a glimpse of what he can do in a type of setting within AEW. Why Marty within El Paso?
Well, truth be told, we actually gave that spot initially to Cosmo Orion.
Okay,
We thought he
great.
had a great showing against Danny. We thought that maybe if we gave him another shot to be in the Texas A tournament, that he could potentially win the tournament. Um,
Okay,
but Cosmo is actually injured right now. So he's unable to compete in the Texas A tournament. So we
okay.
allowed him to make the choice of who he believed would represent El Paso the best. And he chose his rival, Marty Snow, as the representative for the Texas A tournament. So, Marty's actually wrestled for us before. He's got great size. He's a good talent. Again, if you were a rival of Cosmo Orion, who's literally been, on fire these last few years, here in Texas wrestling, like that's a pretty big statement, you know what I'm saying? So um I'm excited to have Marty in. He's kind of we announced the match with him and Tim Bosby, so he's kind of defending the honor
Mm.
of Texas right off the bat against Tim Bosby, and hopefully that Marty's able to defend this proud state against the wild card. But I'm excited to have Marty in. Again, we've had him one time in for sure. He's been wanting to come out, so this is going to be an opportunity for him to prove, that he belongs. He's probably the least known competitor in this entire competition. So he
Mm-hmm.
gets an opportunity to prove to him, prove like what Cosmo did last year with Danny. He gets an opportunity to prove that he belongs with all of this great talent in this tournament.
El Paso is such an underrated city because I think the likes of Austin, the likes of Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and we get and El Paso is we talked about this in our conversation last year. It's a different time zone
Yeah,
in the whole
yeah,
entire
it's
state.
way out there.
Exactly. And to know, like, hey, okay, that's how I knew Cosmo actually was through the Texas 8 because the only way that we communicated is DMs or like seeing, what he's doing in El Paso, and he does like all of his promos, but to see him in the Texas 8, it shows that a lot of the cities that may not get the same recognition as the Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, we'll throw in McAllen
Yeah,
and Laredo. And Cosmo really shined on that Texas 8 that the following shows immediately after Texas 8, you got to see Cosmo more and more and more from a city that may not get the same recognition, but to have that scene in Austin, Marty will be in that same direction. And even though he has that AEW appearance, they may not know him as much, but seeing him in the Texas 8 would say, hey, oh, shoot, Marty, I want to see him more. I want to see him
right.
more here in Austin or wherever city that an opportunity that would land for him to work in.
Yeah, I agree. This is the great thing about the Texas 8 is, we could probably choose the top most 8 known wrestlers in the entire state and do a tournament, but the fun part about this having the districts is that we get to see talent from different parts of the state competing with, some of our favorites that we've known very well. So, this is a great opportunity for Marty to again showcase himself and potentially earn more jobs, more opportunities around the entire state of Texas.
And he would go out of the. I mean, Cosmo like
Yeah.
drove all the way to Austin for some show. He drove to Houston in Contenders, or if it's a regular New Texas show, like it's just a matter of when they're gonna be because they'll go out of their way to go to those shows and
Yeah.
to make their name out there, past the El Paso city limits, and for them to have a Texas 8, it'll propel them to even more shows that promotions that may reach out, or if they go out of state, like they know, oh shoot, he's in that tournament. All right, let me put him in Illinois or
Yeah.
Chicago or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, I think that being a part of this tournament is definitely a great notch on the resume. And I think anybody involved with this should be proud that they're involved with it. And there can
Oh
only be
yeah.
one winner, but anybody that gets to compete in this tournament, it should be considered a great honor that they were able to rise up out of their district for that year to showcase their talents.
Last year's winner, Danny Ryan, won West Texas. And before we even delve into that region too,
Yeah.
I was thinking, especially with the non title non-tournament matches too, and to have that variety within the Texas 8. I mean, it could have been a Texas G1, but
Yeah.
to throw in those matches down the line, we're seeing the Manders and Danny O'Ryan. We're going to see. Was that announced already? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, we've announced
Okay.
Manders versus
my
Danny
heart.
O'Ryan. Here you are
Okay, my
breaking
heart just
news on
stopped.
this podcast.
But also like Charity King and Jordan Blade. To
Yes.
have this mix, we could have just said Texas G1, but to have these mixes, how does that really drive more of the intrigue? And there are already storylines within those matches as well. Why have these variety matches besides the tournament within the Texas 8?
Well, I think, even last year we had an incredible championship match with Carter Black and I was gonna call him Mysterious Cube. Carter Black and Starboy Charlie. It's a habit. I've been calling him that for 11 years. That could potentially have been a match of the year. And that was, right, I believe between the first and second round or the second and third round of the Texas A tournament.
Second and
Um,
third, I believe.
yeah, and it was an incredible match. And I think that with that, with what we were able to do last year with the tournament and having a couple of matches that weren't, with doing what we doing last year, to have those championship matches mixed in there, have a couple of different matches mixed in there that isn't necessarily tournament matches, but it keeps the flow of the show going. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
both of those championship matches, um, Jordan Blade coming in from DC area to challenge Charity King. Jordan is a um, very well known grappler. She has a lot of great submissions in her arsenal. And that's going to be a tough challenge for Charity because, Charity's known for her power. She's able to overpower a lot of the girls, but, any good grappler knows how to utilize someone's power against them. So that's
Yep.
going to be a great dynamic, a great championship match. We're super proud of Charity. We're super happy that she's our new Texas Pro Women's Champion. And then full circle really for Daniel O'Ryan, right? Last year he won the Texas A tournament. Now he's cashing in his 6-shooter contract at this year's Texas A tournament in front of that Austin crowd to challenge one called Manders for that new Texas Pro World Championship. And Manders really has been on an absolute roll since he's come to New Texas Pro Wrestling. I mean, he's beaten,
Mm-hmm.
some of the very top wrestlers we have in this state, Carter Blacks, the Dmitry Alexandrovs, the Izzy James, and knocked them off and then continued to be champion. So this is Daniel O'Ryan's opportunity to finally try to, break through and be, considered at least have the top prize in the state of Texas and to be potentially the top guy in the state of Texas right now. So those two storylines alone, I mean, that's great.
Yep.
A great mix that we can take a step back from the tournament, and then we can get invested in these other things going on. So that's why we added those matches. And there's one more match that we're working on that can't announce quite yet, but stay tuned on social media. You'll be able to see it come out at some point.
Yeah, speaking of Danny's, we're finally gonna get through our last participant with Jackson Taylor. So I will be upfront. I do a lot of research on my side. Jackson Taylor being in West Texas, and it's very close to your heart being in that region. And Danny winning it last year within this region. What makes Justin such a really good pick for West Texas?
So as you know, New Texas Pro Wrestling actually started in West Texas. And when we were trying to figure out a roster of guys that we wanted to bring up to West Texas, to bring up to Abilene and Colorado City. I wasn't very familiar with the area at that time either. Even coming from that area, I didn't really know any independent wrestling shows that were up in West Texas. I just didn't know of them. So, when I moved to Houston, I started training. And then obviously, we came up with the idea that we were going to run New Texas. I asked Terrell Tempo, who'd actually wrestled back home in his Lubbock area. Is there anybody in West Texas
Right.
that is worth putting on a show like with the talent that we're going to bring up there? And the one name that he said was Jackson Taylor, and that was 8 years ago.
Wow, that's wow. Okay.
So, he's like the guy in West Texas. He is the staple of West Texas that he gets booked in Dallas sometimes. He gets booked, he got booked at Wrestle Rave not too long ago. So he's one of those talents that actually could go to move to a big city and hang with all the great talent that we have everywhere. He's just out there in the island, the middle of Odessa area, and it's not
Oh,
easy for him to
okay.
get out and to get places. So, um, yeah, no, I'm excited to have Justin. He's a hard nosed, hard hitting, tough son of a bitch. And I don't know if I can cuss on here. I'm sorry if I did. Tough SOB, who truly exemplifies what West Texas wrestling is. And you could see because of the support that he got from the other wrestlers from the West Texas area when we announced that he was going to be representing West Texas, that he's one of their own. He does wrestle in West Texas on a very, very consistent basis, whether it's Lubbock or Midland, Odessa or Abilene. He wrestles in all those areas. So it's really cool to get to bring Justin in. Now I'm very familiar with Justin, obviously, over the years that I've been running New Texas Pro Wrestling. We've had him in on a couple of our shows as well. So super excited to have him in. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people with what he's able to do. And, the fact that he's stuck with this business for so long, living in West Texas, that really shows you how much he loves professional wrestling and
Hmm.
how serious he's going to take this tournament. And again, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people when he's able to showcase what he's able to do.
I think like we're seeing a lot, and then this is a trend that I'm noticing where the crowds where they represent. Austin, of course, like there's a lot of sway, but to have Ollie being over because of what the crowd is doing and what he's done outside of the ring, Justin is kind of like a parallel where seeing his reaction being picked in the Texas 8 and seeing the crowd rally behind him when that announcement broke out, it shows of how much of an impact Justin has already placed within that West Texas area that might have really caught your attention and like, hey, wait a second, okay. You see something beyond the announcement, but seeing the
Yeah.
community go around him and seeing that excitement, he kind of broke character at some point, but you got to see how much of the community really rally behind him where Jackson may take the Texas 8 down the line if he goes to the finals and wins the whole
Yeah.
thing. So it goes to show like the community itself, it rallies around him so much that they'll go with him to the final or wherever point of that tournament is, they'll be with him behind him 100% of
Yeah.
the way.
I agree. He's built such a great fan base in West Texas. He's been a fan favorite there for like as long as I've known him. So, over 8 years at this point,
Right.
or around 8 years at this point. So he's that was actually, I believe, in Snyder, Texas, which is not a town that I'm sure he wrestles a ton in. But
Mm.
again, you're gonna have those people from Midland, Odessa. He was a staple at OSW for a long time. You're gonna have those people up in Lubbock as well when he wrestles for those promotions up that way. All of that fan base is gonna, be watching and rallying behind Jason, and hopefully that he's able to, um, you know, bring that Texas A trophy back to, and the Lone Star Championship again. We're still like forgetting, hey, this Lone Star Championship is going to be on the line as
Yep.
well. To bring that back up to West Texas, that would be an amazing get. And hey, back to back years for West Texas. I'm not going to complain about that. You know what I'm saying? So
That's gonna be like wait a second, what about the other regions? But to
no,
know
it's West Texas every year, baby. We're really showing out.
definitely not biased at that point.
Not at all.
But because I talked to Vis about this and he mentioned Backwoods being the venue, and
Yes.
Empire has been, I mean, he has his reasons
Right.
to move away from Empire. You'll have to hear, if you haven't seen the episode, please do, because it was kind of an interesting take on Backwoods. But the setting of Backwoods, and he mentioned this, run us through, why is it such a good venue for like a wrestling storyline within Texas wrestling?
Well, he tells a story that somebody sat next to him and told him that this looks like, that was me. He just doesn't mention that, but I was the one who said it. Well, I say there's a few venues in the state of Texas that you go to and you're looking around, and we were at the Backwood Bar, and I'm trying to figure out how to put everything together. I'm trying to figure out where the ring is going to go, where the production is going to go,
Yeah.
where the commentary is going to go, where the fans are going to go. And I'm trying to put it all together in my head, and I'm looking around. There's country music blaring. There's a riding bull off in this corner over here. There's, all kinds of beer signs on the walls and everything like that. And I'm like, man, if there was a video game and they were like, "You're going to the Indies before you can make it up here in the big league, and we're gonna send you to
Oh, like
Texas."
a My Rise
Yeah, like a
storyline.
My Rise or something, like, "We're gonna send you to
Okay.
Texas," and it just goes into the scene of, like, this bar with the country music and the riding bull and, you know what I'm saying, all the beer signs and everything like that, and I'd be like, "This is what people probably imagine what Texas wrestling venues are like." You get what I'm saying? Um, so it's cool, you know, we got the space, there's the big video board, obviously, you know, Empire was a lot of fun, we had some incredible shows at Empire, um you know, but they had the manager change and everything, so we've decided we're gonna move to a different venue, even though, you know, Empire did
Okay.
want us to stick around. Um, you know, we made the decision to go to the Backwood Bar, and I think it's gonna be, uh, a great partnership for us, and I'm super excited to be working with them, and the first show was a ton of fun. You know, you were shooting there ringside, but the crowd
Yeah.
was hot for it. You know, there was
Yep.
our normal fans, and then there was the fans that really had not seen wrestling, and they're all kind of interacting with each other to watch the show that we put on, and, I think Texas 8 is gonna be a lot more the same where we're gonna have our, you know, fans that we have most shows, and then we're gonna probably have people who are just kind of want to hang out at the Backwood Bar, and it's gonna be a good combination of people from all walks of life watching professional wrestling, which is I don't know anything more beautiful than that, you know?
It's nice too is I would just look for like a few seconds if Ted does his announcing. I would look back. I mean, the typical audience around ringside, cool, but the ones who are outside, right by the at the time there was a crawfish boil, they would be glued to
Yeah,
watch the shows. And the nice thing about that is they got to see, oh my god, I'm eating crawfish. Wait, I'm watching wrestling at the same time. It's a nice alleyway and entryway and gateway to watch those shows. You're like, hey, I'm sitting all the way at the bar. They're doing wrestling. All right, let me go to the next show and get a
yeah,
ticket and sit over there at ringside. So the accessibility of a backwoods where it could be a rando, like, oh shoot, when's the next show? Like you want those reactions from people
yeah,
to say, I want to watch the next New Texas show because it's like it's a gateway drug for them to see the wrestling up close because they're so far away, whether they're with their friends or they're eating crawfish down the line. It
yeah.
makes it so easier to really attract them to watch a future New Texas show in Austin.
Yeah, that's kind of, you know, that's what we hope for, that they watch that first show and they come back and they're like, "I would like to see another one of those shows. That was a lot of fun," you know?
Mm.
So, you know, if they have any kind of crawfish boils or whatever they got going on and, you know, some people stick around to watch the wrestling show, that's pretty cool too. So, yeah, no, that's the beauty of professional wrestling. You get to these places and there's all kinds of chaos happening and all kinds of things happening, but everywhere that I've ever gone in the world or the country, with professional wrestling, if there's a wrestling ring and people wrestling in it, everyone pays attention.
Yep. It's all those clanging and banging in on the
Yeah, it's loud, so
that's
that kind of like, "Whoa, what's going on over
exactly.
there?"
So we're going to be close to wrapping up, and so Mean Week's happening in Vegas
Yes.
for one last hurrah because it's WrestleMania is going to Saudi
Yeah,
for
they're
next
not
year.
coming back. No, no.
They won't TKO anyways, but
Yes, they'll make their
but
money.
to know exactly, but to know that there is still a place for indie wrestling within this week, within WrestleMania this year. And having this new initiative with all of these promotions within different states, how are you guys having this unity to have this one? Well, I'm sure there'll be other PLEs or pay-per-views down the line, but to have kind of like this one more go in the indies, how does this new initiative really bring together what the indies are all about leading up to WrestleMania?
Well, I think that this is probably of our first hoorah more than our last go around, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think we have
Okay.
other independent, um, what's the word? Like a summit, like an independent summit that we plan to do in the future as well, even if, you know,
Okay.
WrestleMania decides to be somewhere else. Um, so I think it's actually an opportunity for us to meet. Um, you know, I've met some of the promoters, but for an opportunity for meet all the promoters, um, and to work with them and to try to figure out more stuff that we can do in the future. And you know, I can tell that everybody that's involved with the new initiative, those are all people that truly love independent wrestling and truly want to be successful in their own, you know, territory and part of the country. A lot of them have been, doing it for a long time, some of them even longer than me, so, you know that they truly love this business, and they truly love independent wrestling, and they truly want the best for the talent, and it's important to us to work with people who are similar minded, like-minded with us, myself and Biss, who also want the best for, you know, everyone that comes up through our ranks and everyone that works for our company. It doesn't matter for how many times or how uh, you know, if they only work for us one time or a million times, it doesn't really matter to us. We want to see everyone succeed. So I know that a lot of those promoters are the same way, and I know there's going to be a lot of more fun things that we're going to work on to showcase independent talent, because it kind of goes back to my tweet that we talked about at the beginning. Like
I was gonna I was gonna reiterate that too.
we have to do a better job of figuring out ways to get independent talent to be over and to be seen by new audiences, to energize,
Right.
energize the fan base. And we have to use these tools. This is actually a big reason why we did the Texas 8, because um, there wasn't any tools in the state of Texas that allowed people to get over.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of secluded in their own little corner of the state, and they're not really wanting to work with other people. And I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if this one person was crowned the Texas A tournament, the state tournament winner, and that everyone was able to utilize this and say, this is the Texas A winner. You know what I'm saying? And that this is the guy that, many people consider to be the best or the next rising star in this state, which is kind of the reason why Texas A tournament. Now we can do that for even on a national level. I think that if we work together, all of these companies in the new initiative, and even promotions that aren't in the new initiative, I've said it many times. I'm open to business with anybody who's willing to help,
Mm,
and to be on the same side and have this work for the same cause that I am. I'm willing to work with anybody. Um, so again, this is all going to be working to help get this talent over, help get the talent from the new initiative over, uh, in a way that we have to do this, because if we
right.
don't, then who is? Or are we just going to all complain and moan about whatever's going on? Does that make sense? So like
Yeah.
we got to do this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope that everyone's tunes in and watches, because I think it's going to be something truly special.
I think down the line, and I always bring this up whenever like I have the guests on, like when you look back and my in my head canon, my interview with Maya made her all elite. But at the same time, you knew that if they go to that level and they would research, let's say like a Maya, they can go here.
Yeah.
Or if someone, or if X, Y, and Z is has a WWE ID contract or all elite, they can refer to what matches they're in, what shows they're on, because you get to see the progression of someone. And it's kind of like when we bring up Timor, is you bring someone up all the way to that level, they can look back and see what their journey is, and knowing that if they go to that next level, they can see that entire journey leading up to wherever destination that they can go. They can go to New Japan, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's a Texan. What, he or she is a Texan? Oh my god! And he's doing Japanese wrestling. So you get to see these like portfolio of work that they're doing, because if they go to that low, they're like, oh, Kiefer did this. This was part of this. Bradley is part of this. Stud Stash was part of this. You get to see the progress, to see where they're at in their level of their professional career as a wrestler.
Yeah, I agree. It's we really wanted to try to work with as much talent as we feel that can make it to the next level. So if someone was like, "What's going on in Texas?" They could look at New Texas Pro Wrestling and be like, "Okay, I understand." Like
Yep.
I could kind of see what's going on here in the state, and I think for the most part, we've done a pretty good job of trying to find that talent across the state to work with that has potential to make it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we continue to find that talent that does have that potential to make it to the next level. And again, if wherever they go, if Timor becomes a big star in New Japan Pro Wrestling, then they're like, well, where did this guy come from? And then they have 30 matches. It's probably more than that. It's probably like 50, 60 matches of Timor on New Texas Pro
Yeah.
that they can watch if they want to. So um, yeah, it's super important for me to bring in the right talent, to bring in the best talent, and to work with those people who have a real potential to make it to the next level, and to develop talent to have potential to make it to the next level.
Which is kind of crazy. You posted the interview you had with Roxanne in the pandemic year,
Yeah,
and I commented it like she was one of the pillars. We have the
yeah,
Genos,
right.
BK, back then Mysterious Q and her,
Hmm.
and to not to have that title of a pillar, like once a pillar, always a pillar. And you got to
Right.
see Roxy at the time. They're like, oh, she's an ROH women's champion. Oh, she's already in main roster. Like the pieces are already in place. They can look back and say, oh, okay, I didn't know she was Roxy in that period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the cool part about it all. And um obviously I'm super proud of her and everything that she's done and everything she continues to do and the more stuff she will continue to accomplish as time goes on. But yeah, no, I mean that's how, even to this day her parents thank me for being a mentor to her coming up through the ranks. And hopefully I am that way to a lot more talent that ends up making it to the next level as well. So that's really what New Text is all about. It's really cool to get to share that stuff and see what it was 6 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But
Ooh. Yeah. Oh my god. We just aged ourselves at that point.
yeah, it feels like the pandemic was yesterday, but I guess it's
Yeah.
been 6 years at this point.
So
I was so bored during the pandemic. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do interviews with people and like keep things moving because like I just didn't like to like
yeah.
be still and do nothing. So that was kind of how that all came about. But I'm glad I got to reflect on that a little bit and see a lot of what she said happened. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So but all right. We're that's all the participants. We talked about the nuances and ins and outs of what the show is going to be. So we'll wrap up the promoter side of what the show's going to be on the Texas 8 at the Backwood Bar here in Austin. So like we wrapped up last year, I'll put the playlist on the description on the show notes. So you have the floor. Hype us up. Biz already had his. He highlighted Jordan Blade and Charity King. So it's your turn to divulge everything else.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. Who do you see in the finals of this Texas A tournament?
Are we gonna
I don't
do
want to say
this?
winner because that seems very particular, but
Oh,
maybe
final?
finals,
Man.
the two people that's going to be left at the end of the night
Ooh, that's a
going
good
one on one.
question. Okay. Ooh.
We kind of
Every
know a few of the matches right now. Obviously, the winner of the Dallas region is going to face Jesse Funaki in the other singles, the first round match. We've already know the other ones as
okay.
well, so you don't want to try to get any of those people mixed together. So
I'm gonna be raked in the coals for this final.
no,
Ollie Summers.
okay, great pick.
Ollie Summers is because I gotta rep Austin. I mean, my interview style will always be one that is neutral, but in the
Have you
case
have you got Ollie in this to do an interview to talk about
no,
the Texas 8? That'd be great. Have you
I'll
done one with
redact
Ollie?
who I will say this because we're going to wander into this rabbit hole. I already gave away who the participant is. If you listen carefully throughout this entire episode, you will know who this participant is. But it's the Austin bias for me. It's Ollie
Okay,
Summers and Decimus.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's a
because
great finals. Why would that not be a great
yeah,
final?
because
Uh,
someone from San Antonio is like, what? Decimus from the Laredo, from the RGV? Because Epi was in the finals. So
yes.
your West Texas like bias is showing. Mine is the RGV and the
That
Laredo bias showing
that's
up.
fine. No, that would be a great finals. I think that those are two deserving people to be in the finals. The great thing about this tournament is you really could probably make a case for every single person in this tournament.
Oh
So,
yeah. No knack
with
against the other regions, but I
right,
think seeing their work already. Ali was with Baracho and APW, TWC, and here in New Texas, and Decimus. What got me over as that final pick was that Lucha Extrema match in Blood, Sweat, and Beers this year. It was
wow,
a very aerial filled brutal match and that mixes the chaos and the fluidity of a lucha libre match. That's what really knocked me off my socks watching it when I was doing research on all the participants and for you guys. And it's just like that match alone was like boom, final. I'm not gonna see who wins it because I'm gonna get shot if I do, but those two kind of came into mind when the finals came around.
yeah, no, that would be like I said, that would be an incredible finals. Um, I mean, you can see Decimus really went to great lengths in that Lucha Extrema match, right?
Yeah. Shout out
So
Cuervo too. Cuervo Cuervo did his part too, but like just that match alone caught my attention. Like, oh shoot, all right, Decimus could be that person. So like,
Yeah.
no knack against and this is just one person's perspective and opinion. There will be another person who will say X, Y, and Z will be in the finals, but those are the 8 best wrestlers in Texas. So anything can happen down the line.
Anything can happen at New Texas Pro Wrestling. You gotta say it with me. Anything can happen at New Texas Pro Wrestling.
Anything can happen in the Texas Pro Wrestling.
So okay, so we'll ask you another question. What do you think the odds are that Daniel Ryan is actually going to be the one to defeat one called Manders uh, at 4-5 in Austin? What's the odds on this?
Ooh, I'm being asked. Okay, it's the first time I've had that in a while. 49-51.
49%. You
1%.
you you don't think that he's going to be able to do it, so you're kind of leaning Manders. Is that what I'm hearing? Or are you leaning?
49 not 49 Manders losing because after seeing all the title defenses down the line, he beat Carter Black. He beat is he James? Is that correct? Is he? I'm trying
Yeah,
to remember.
it was
Okay,
Carter Black. In the rematch against
Dimitri,
then Dimitri, and then Izzy.
Izzy. So like seeing the NWA Texas champion and Deathmatch Jesus is Deathmatch Jesus, and Carter Black is already in his
Hillard.
he's back to his apex. But
Yeah.
for Manders to really put those 3 down, Danny has been really been breaking out and breaking out not only in Texas but all over the state. It's time to honestly see Danny get that title, especially winning the Texas 8. I thought he was going to win the New Texas Pro Championship
Yeah.
after the Texas 8. And it's like, okay, I guess you guys have been cooking for the year already leading up to this matchup. And Danny's been kind of like all over the place with the new initiative and so many other guys who are in Texas really spreading their wings outside of Texas. I'd give Danny a shot, but Manders is not a slouch either, taking down the best of the best. And I was at that Contender show, and
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap! I thought Dimitri was gonna take it, but Manders kind of slithers in to take the title in Austin in Dimitri's own territory. So I tend not to have like really big biases because I have to see the other side of the picture before even making a call like that. So that 1% Danny going over is going to be that factor.
I like it. That I feel like that's good percentage. I'm sure if I was a betting man, I probably would I'd still put Manders at a pretty sizable favor, maybe a 2-1 favor. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And he's bigger than Danny. He's got the experience over Danny. But the one thing Danny, you mentioned it that the last year one of the perks of winning the tournament was you actually got a shot at the New Texas Pro World Championship
Mm-hmm.
at the Texas Indie Showcase, and he went toe to toe with Carter Black, and he gave Carter Black everything that he had, but he actually came up short. And
Yeah.
the beauty I think of that I have done specifically at New Texas Pro Wrestling is we've had a lot of great challengers for that New Texas Pro World Championship and a lot of very deserving people who should probably have been New Texas Pro World Champion. And a lot of they, we have the 6 shooter contract, which is what Danny is cashing in at this Texas 8.
Mm.
We've had the Texas 8. We've had all kinds of matches that allow guys to get opportunities to challenge for the title, but that doesn't mean you're going to win the championship. Does that make sense? Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
very that's the reason it's the top prize in Texas. It's very hard to get. There's only been 5 men that have held that championship.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's kind of interesting
And
because
over 8 years. Well, it's actually been around 7 years that it's been around. There's only been five men to hold that title. So
wow. So it's Q, Stephen Wolf,
JJ Blake,
JJ Blake.
Brian Keith, and one called Manners.
Oh, that's right. BK. Oh, that's right. So like it's a rare shot to get. And all of those guys have had careers that I mean, Carter Black is coming back after that injury, but he's already branching out to, in this case with Atslan with Gino Medina.
Yeah.
But BK, holy Stephen Wolf has been all over the world for quite some time. JJ
Nice.
Blake has been killing it within Texas, and then Manders has been really been dominating that title run as well.
Yeah.
So,
And he's taking that title
j-
around the world, to Germany and the UK and
oh
everything like that.
yes, that's right,
So,
and like
but this is a very, Danny's had success with the Texas 8, obviously. He's not
yeah,
challenged for the New Texas Pro World Championship in Austin, which I think is going to be a big help for him. I'm sure the crowd there in Austin will be very, very much behind Danny.
yeah.
Um, so you never know what could happen in New Texas Pro Wrestling. All I would say is that I promise you this is going to be one that you won't want to miss. And that's all I really need to say. We can wrap up the podcast now.
I'll call it a day. But my brain, I got to do real quickly. So we have some of the matchups in the Texas 8.
We're
So,
called off the top of my head. So we got Timor and Decimus.
yep,
We have Marty Snow versus Tim Busby.
yep.
We have Jackson Taylor versus Ollie Summers. And
Mm.
then the winner of Exodus Prime and LVJ will be challenging Jesse Funaki in the first round. So those are the 4 first round matchups that we have.
Wow, it's a stack. I mean, of course, we have the non-tournament matches.
Right.
Danny and one called Manders, Charity King and Jordan Blade, and let me get my note. Blah blah blah.
Those are the only 2 that we've announced.
Okay.
I think the other one is going to involve a Dmitry Alexandrov. So, Austin's his territory, and we got the two world championship matches. So I'm excited about it. Should be a great night. I'm pumped. You
Yeah,
can't miss it.
exactly.
I mean, it's the Texas 8 tournament, you can't miss it.
This is like our version of like a wrestler. Baracho has blood, sweat, and beers.
Yes.
That's their version of a WrestleMania, and New Texas has a lot.
I would say that since we've done New Texas Austin, the Texas 8 tournament is like the premier show of the year for Austin. Does that make sense? We
yes,
have we
yes,
have Lone Star, we have our anniversary show, we have the Indie Showcase, but the Texas 8, this is specific to the state capital of Austin, Texas. This is the
yep,
show for New Texas Pro Austin. So that's why I'm like, you got to be there. It's the freaking
yeah.
Texas 8. How could you miss it?
And I can't believe it's lit. But yeah, we're like a week away. It's kind of like a
Yeah, next
crazy.
Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, but like to have this tournament and seeing where it succeeds today, and it's not just like you manning the helm. It's everyone from the crew to the refs to Dan to Eric and Trent Gilbo, like all of those guys. It's a village,
Yeah,
and it's not just like the New Texas guys. We get to see like the Bradleys, the Pops,
yeah.
and all of these guys. This tournament is going to set everything ablaze. It'll take everything off, and you never know. And we've seen these participants be there, and they're on to greater things. And to know that these 8 guys are going to be the best in Texas, that's going to be something that people not people in the state and the nation need to look at, because that Texas 8 winner, you never know. WWID, they'll be all elite. It all starts here.
That's right. That's right. It all starts in the Texas 8 tournament. That's why you got to be there. You can also tune in on IWTV and for free on YouTube. That's why I'm like, you can't miss
Oh,
it.
that's right. Nope. There's no excuse.
There's
If
no
you have an
excuse.
internet connection,
I don't care what part of the state you're in. You can watch the Texas 8 tournament and you can root for whoever you want to win that tournament. Because I promise you, this is going to be a night you will never forget. So you got to tune in. You got to tune in.
there you go. So
Might as well tune in
we're
right now. Just go to a New Texas Pro YouTube page and start watching.
go
Get
just
hyped up. Watch a
no
Jesse match.
notify
Watch a
if
Timor
you're
match.
not
Watch a Bosby match.
subscribed to the YouTube channel at the New Texas
Watch the
Pro
podcast.
YouTube. Yeah, it's there. And there's also stuff on their Patreon to look out to.
That's right.
Like I said, a lot of the main roster, whether it's in WWE or in EW, some of them have their places built here for them to build up to those careers. And this will be a really really fun time if you haven't. If you are in Austin, drive from there. If you're outside of Austin, drive all the way there. If you are in Texas, or fly over here. Despite the TSA line crackdowns and all that junk, fly
Wow.
over there, because this will be that time of the year for wrestling. And like I mentioned before, you never know, this person, whoever it is, they will have that opportunity to mark their place in Texas, whether it's someone from the state or that one wild card who will be there. Don't miss it. And our next guest, we're already beating around the bush. One of these matches, one of them will be the guest participant on this episode in about 2 days. And Kiefer, it's always been a pleasure. I
It's
know
a
we're
pleasure.
kind of out of time, but it is what it is. I
Well,
know
we'll do
we're
this
gonna
again
have
next
a fun time.
month. No, I'm kidding.
Are you trying to beat that record now? Are you trying
Yes,
to like
I'm.
get the ball and roll with it?
Yes, I don't want anybody to touch it. So
But for those who are watching, we have one more episode on this Texas 8 coverage. Tune in on Friday. The hint's already there if you've listened to it carefully. And yeah, let's get to it. Texas 8 Sunday, Backwoods Bar in Austin, and we're signing off right now.